Aftermath, that's the one bringing his pen.
Oh, this is unfortunate timing for bro walking down the street. Infiltrating.
Turn in.
Yes, you heard that. Yes, the video said this is unfortunate timing for bro walking down the street. Yes, the video said bro's infiltrating, and yes, he did get punched in the video.
Oh! Fucking hell, as if I caught that. How we doing? He's just been assaulted, that gentleman.
But why? This was a far-right riot in Hartlepool, and the only thing that bloke did wrong was walk down the street and be brown. If that sounds strange or wrong, I agree. Let's get right into it. Welcome to today's video, and today we're going to be talking about quite a turbulent time in British politics, the largest riots Britain has seen in about 13 years. What's going on? So it's a long story, let me break it down for you. On the 29th of July 2024 in Southport, one of the most tragic events took place. 3 little girls were murdered. The 17-year-old assailant went to a Taylor Swift themed dance and yoga event and murdered 6-year-old BB, 7-year-old Elsie and 9-year-old Alice. 8 other children were injured, with 5 currently in critical condition, and 2 adults also sustained critical injuries, reportedly bravely fending off the assailant. Armed officers detained a 17-year-old male at the scene, who was subsequently arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Crucially, which will be important for later, authorities have stated that the attack is not being treated as terror-related, but Counter-Terrorism Policing Northwest is providing full support for a full investigation. The families of the victims have shared their grief with the public. BB King's family expressed their devastation at the loss of their little girl, while Alice De Silva's family remembered her as their princess who loved to smile and dance. These heart-wrenching tributes highlight the unimaginable pain these families are enduring, and how horrific and traumatic this event is, and how it should be talked about at a national level and should be made sure to never happen again. The community of Southport has been left reeling. Hundreds attended a vigil on Tuesday evening where flowers were laid, candles were lit, and a minute's silence was observed in the memory of the victims. Support has been pouring in across the country. A Just Giving page set up by Taylor Swift fans called Swifties for Southport has already raised over £300,000 for Alder Hey Children's Charity. One witness recounted hearing a woman scream, "He's stabbing kids," and seeing children covered in blood. Another witness spoke of rescuing around 10 girls and taking them to a nearby house for safety. Taylor Swift herself expressed her shock and sorrow, saying she was at a complete loss for how to convey her sympathies. Malaysia is the first country to set out travel warnings for the UK, but why? Soon after a vigil for the 3 girl victims was carried out, violent protests broke out in Southport. There were online claims, immediately after the incident, that the 17-year-old suspect was an asylum seeker arriving on a boat last year. This is misinformation. Of course they arrived on a boat, of course an illegal alien committed this heinous act. It's what must have happened. They've got illegal in their name after all, so they're probably a criminal already doing all sorts of acts of violence. This weird viewpoint will inform the acts of violence that we will cover later. Statement from Chief Constable Serena Kennedy following major incident in Southport. A 17-year-old male from Banks, Lancashire, who was born in Cardiff, has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, and has been taken to a police station where he will be interviewed by detectives. This is the official statement from the police. The other claim comes from Channel 3 Now in their article. 17-year-old Ali Al-Shakati arrested in connection with the stabbings in Southport, England. Ali Al-Shakati was on the MI6 watch list and was known to Liverpool Mental Health Services. He was an asylum seeker who came to the UK by boat last year. Well, obviously, this is completely incorrect. and one must wonder whether Ali al-Shakati is a real person at all even, or whether the fake news site, or the fake article at least, picked Ali al-Shakati for its very obviously Middle Eastern sounding name, and to incite violence and discontent towards that group of people. Furthermore, the Telegraph reports, obscure Russian-linked news outlet fueling violence on Britain's streets. Channel 3 News is a Russian-linked outlet linked with spreading disinformation. It's a part of a wider backdrop of coordinated Russian-backed disinformation campaigns poisoning the discourse and safety of the West. In every Western political system, we see Russian disinformation and Russian national interests seep into every event, every online post, and now even major political parties and figures. This has been going under the radar for far too long. Amid the fake, and now boring, rather mainstream argument of fake news, the BBC is turning our kids gay, the woke mind virus. Meanwhile, let's take a wider look. Fake claims of trans boxer at the Olympics? There were no trans boxers at the Olympics. This claim comes from the Russian head of the Russian IBA, giving baseless claims and reasonings for an arbitrary, unjust decision, causing rampage and anger in Western discourse. Russian misinformation has infiltrated the very fibre of our conversations about Ukraine, that Ukraine is a neo-Nazi state, that Russia was actually the victims. Ukraine is genociding the Russian-speaking Ukrainians, all of which of course has no evidence and would get destroyed completely in any debate half-centred around facts and not delusional, factless, pro-Russian feelings and lies. On the 30th of July, after the vigil, fueled by misinformation and racist anti-immigrant sentiment, protesters in Southport gathered outside the city's mosque, a place of worship, and a place that had nothing to do with any event that unfolded. They shouted anti-immigration slogans. A police van was set on fire. Numerous police officers were injured. This was no longer a peaceful protest, but a violent mob. Allow me to connect the dots. Far-right extremist thugs, prodded on by the misinformation of Toby Robinson and Nigel Farage, and insert any other far-right figure really, started causing mayhem and started destroying the country. Why? Because of what they perceived was an asylum seeker assailant who arrived in this country on a boat last year and was on an MI6 watch list. They used this as evidence for their racist ideology, that asylum seekers were flooding to this country, causing crime, stealing jobs, being a negative force, and ultimately that it's too far, we have to take our country back. They killed 3 innocent little girls. Ironically, this isn't evidence at all, and it's actually evidence to the contrary. Axel Rudakabana was a 17-year-old Brit born in Cardiff and was not an asylum seeker. He was of Rwandan origins and was a Christian. Contrary to the initial claims of Ali al-Shakati or whatever, there was a deliberate attempt of disinformation to make it seem like that this was a Muslim assailant and that this was a terror-related crime. For example, Nigel Farage put a statement on Tuesday saying, why are we ruling out that it's a terror incident? It's improper and stuff like this. No. There was a deliberate attempt to make the assailant appear Muslim, so Islamophobic and anti-Muslim sentiment could rise and violence could be done against them. As we currently see, I have plenty of videos to show you guys. This was a direct attempt by Russian disinformation and far-right commentators to put us against each other. It's not a Muslim invasion, it's not Muslim people versus British people. You can be Muslim and British. I'm not Muslim, and I'm trying to stand up because this is obvious Islamophobic attempts and coercion to change the narrative and make Britain anti-Muslim. That doesn't need to be the case. At the same time, for years we've heard there's people arriving in boats in droves, they're coming to our country, they're invading our country, even though Britain is an island. How do you think any of us got here? We were all invading, I guess, at one time or another. So this was supposed to be an intersectional attack. The fact that he's supposed to be Muslim and an asylum seeker, so this unknown assailant at the time could raise anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant hate, despite the fact that immigrants and asylum seekers especially commit crimes at much lower rates than native-born Brits, because why? If they do a crime or if they do something bad, they get deported from the country. For example, there's also a sense of gratefulness. If you come from Afghanistan or if you come for jobs or something, you have a sense of owing the country. You're less likely to commit a crime. Also, you're probably picking the good fruit out of the tree. You know, the criminals and people doing illegal activities that could sustain a life are probably living there. Meanwhile, people fleeing are coming for a genuinely a better life and aren't generally people looking to commit crimes, which is reflected in statistics. Immigrants commit less crime than native-born people, and this is reflected here because it was a Brit doing the stabbing, not an asylum seeker. After the first nights of riots, Merseyside police said more than 50 police officers were hurt in a sustained and vicious attack. Merseyside police said the violence was believed to have involved EDL supporters. Mr. Hurley told the BBC radio, "Riot was led from people outside the town. Thugs who got the train in. The deaths of 3 little kids for their own political purposes." And the ironic thing about these extremist right-wing thugs, stochastically led on by people like Nigel Farage, is they probably wouldn't even know what they're fighting for. They probably wouldn't even know the names of BB, Elsie and Alice, the 3 victims, the 3 girls tragically murdered.
There's a journal right there behind that. There's a journal there. Taking photos. Hello! There's some pigs. All ratting on fast. Come on!
This is but some of the violence experienced in the country. We've seen libraries burnt down, like the Nazis. We've seen hijabs being pulled off women with children, with their babies. We've seen minorities abused, Muslim schools pushed over, brown people assaulted, racial slurs thrown in the streets of Britain, like it's the early 20th century and it's in fashion again. We've seen violence in Southport, Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol, Nottingham, and ironically, places with some of the least amount of immigration, for example Belfast, Hull, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Rotherham. More pictures of a library in Liverpool being burnt down, windows smashed in a hotel in Rotherham.
Now there's no hope, to stay here at all, and not for me, not for others. It won't be attractive, for any business to come and open here. Yeah, everyone knows that now. It's not a place, to open a business. It's for my life, for my safety, my well-being. Also, I totally damage my well-being. I can try over and over, again and again to reach the same result. I have to think differently now.
This was quite a somber video. Stay safe, don't be racist out there, guys. Thank you.